In this video, we'll be looking at the most insane draft stories in NFL history and when the New York Giants didn't want Lawrence Taylor. Let's start the video. Now, before we get to Lawrence Taylor, I want to start with the draft story of Carl Lewis. In the 1984 draft, the Dallas Cowboys used a 12th round pick on him. Now, the weird part is, Carl Lewis is not a football player. He is an extremely decorated Olympic athlete, and before the draft, he made it clear he had no intentions on playing football. Although, after he was selected by the Cowboys, he still never played football. But perhaps the most embarrassing moment is when the Lions flew out Alexander Smith. In the 2005 NFL Draft, the Lions were scouting out Stanford tight end Alexander Smith. So, they flew him out to Detroit, and when they met up with him, Alexander Smith was not there. It was Alex Smith, the eventual number 1 overall pick. Lions head coach asked Alex Smith what he was doing here, and Alex Smith replied, "I don't know." That is not even the most surprising story from that same Detroit Lions draft. With the 10th overall pick that year, the Lions took Mike Williams from USC. It is normal for players to go visit team facilities a day or two after they were drafted. So when Mike Williams was drafted, he went out to go visit the Lions. And when he arrived, he walked in on crutches. Steve Mariucci described it as everyone's jaws dropping to the floor. It was a great joke by their top draft pick. Although that isn't as bad as when a team couldn't decide who to pick. In the 1988 NFL Draft, the Houston Oilers had the 21st overall pick. They had two prospects in mind, linebacker Clifford Charlton or running back Lorenzo White. Back then, teams had a full 15 minutes to make a selection. And as the Oilers were on the clock, the 15 minutes drained. They couldn't make a decision. And as soon as time ran out, the Browns with the pick after them quickly made their selection, drafting one of the players the Oilers wanted, which forced the Oilers to end up getting Lorenzo White the very next pick. Funny enough though, Don Shula found out more about a player he drafted from a reporter than what the scouts told him. In the 3rd round of the 1993 NFL Draft, the Dolphins used their 3rd round pick on Terry Kirby. Then, later in the press conference, Don Shula found out from a reporter that the player he drafted had a vision issue. Don Shula was furious and blurted out, "Did we just draft a blind guy?" Although it all worked out as Terry Kirby had a respectable 10-year career. But is it possible for a player to pick where they go? In the 1984 draft, Louis Lips pretty much did. Back in the 80s, nobody had cell phones, and if a person you were calling was already on the phone, then you would get a business signal. So the Pittsburgh Steelers called Louis Lips early in the 1st round and said, "Hey Louis, we've got about 5 picks to go and we want to draft you. If you want to come to the Steelers, all you have to do is stay on the phone." So he stayed on the phone, and as the 23rd pick came around, the Steelers were able to select Louis Lips. In contrast though, Ozzie Newsome couldn't get a hold of a player he was drafting. Ozzie Newsome knew from experience that it is best to call the player you are drafting before you actually draft them. So in the Ravens' inaugural season in 1996, the 4th round came and Ozzie Newsome was looking to draft Maryland receiver Jermaine Lewis. Before he made the selection, he tried to call him, but there was no answer. Finally, after about 10 minutes, Ozzie Newsome got in contact with his parents, but they didn't even know where their son was. Ozzie Newsome just decided to put in the draft pick. 5 to 10 minutes after he made the draft pick, he got a phone call from Jermaine Lewis. It turned out Jermaine was so frustrated with the draft, he went to the movies and cut off his phone. At least he wasn't the most unfortunate story in the video. Louisville running back Eric Shelton had his draft stock affected for crimes he did not commit. In college, Eric Shelton was having a great career. So, heading into the 2005 NFL Draft, he was looking to be an early draft pick. Back then, teams used Infomart as a background checking service for the college players. And when Eric Shelton's background check came back, there was some glaring issues. It said he was arrested for aggravated assault in 1999 and arrested for marijuana charges in 2001. Eric Shelton was described as an angel by his agent. They thought there was no way. It turned out the background check was for a Eric Shelton who was born 10 years before the Louisville running back Eric Shelton was born. Although, probably no other story is more insane than when the New York Giants didn't want Lawrence Taylor. By far, Lawrence Taylor is the Giants' best draft pick of all time, but there was a chance the Giants didn't even draft him. In college, you could tell that Lawrence Taylor would be great. So in the draft, it was no surprise that he was the best prospect that year. Luckily for the Giants, who had the 2nd overall pick, although there was one issue. Lawrence Taylor wanted a lot of money. Lawrence Taylor was demanding $250,000 per year. Now, that may not sound like a lot, especially in today's terms, but in 1981, the highest paid player on the Giants was making $145,000 per year. With Lawrence Taylor requesting this absurd amount of money, waves of Giants players got mad. It even got to the point where they said they would walk if the Giants selected him. So word got to Lawrence Taylor, and 2 days before the draft, he sent a letter to the Giants saying not to draft him. The players didn't want Lawrence Taylor, and he didn't want them in return. Although after he sent the letter to the Giants, the players changed their mind quickly and apologized and said that they would love to have him on the team. As the draft came around, with the 2nd overall pick, the Giants took Lawrence Taylor. He immediately showed why he was worth $250,000 per year in his rookie season by winning Defensive Player of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe while you were down there. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.